So you see empty boxes. I see empty space. Remember back when we were little kids and somebody would get a new appliance or they would get something large that came in one of those fabulous boxes and how excited we would get? Well, that's kind of the way I'm feeling now about this box I found. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's just right. And actually, I got two. One I spotted as I was driving by. They were just receiving a shipment and unloading these boxes, and I thought, I've got to stop. So I went in and asked them, and she came out with another box, which is not a bad box. There's no real bad boxes, but it wasn't the box I had my eye on. And so I told her the one I really wanted. So they finished unloading it and let me have it. It's a very sturdy box. So here's the thing. I know you're thinking, what? Why get excited over a box? Well, when you're 8, there's a lot of possibilities with those boxes. I think I had a playhouse. Didn't you have a playhouse? Or a fort? Or something that you drew on and then later you turned it into something else. And then when it started to get a little wobbly, you shifted it around and made it into an entirely different, like a tunnel, because now both ends were open. So yeah, I have a lot of fond memories of boxes. But anyway, I digress. My idea is that every time I get a box, it inspires me to take on another drawer, another cabinet, another shelf, something like that. So this box, as you saw, is a pretty good sized box. And the reason why I like this particular size box is because it will hold the pieces of Tupperware, flower arrangements, things that aren't really heavy, but they're cumbersome and they're a weird size. So you're probably thinking right now, why are we spending this time talking about boxes? Because what I'm finding is that if I don't motivate myself, if I don't inspire myself, I will never get rid of anything. And it has been made clear to me that nobody really wants all my stuff. So I need to think about, and when I say nobody, I have one child who has already let me know he doesn't really want anything. As a matter of fact, I have talked to my other friends who said their kids aren't sentimental. There might be one or two things that they see the practical side of having, but for the rest of it. So I am determined to go ahead and start parting with some of these things. So anyway, that's why we're talking about boxes, because it is an eyesore to have an empty box sitting in the middle of your living room or your kitchen or in the corner of your bedroom. What is a worse eyesore is to have a lot of piles of stuff or things that you have shoved into the back of your closet that at one point in time you really loved, because that's why we have it in the first place, right? Somebody gave it to us and we really liked it, or we bought it. We liked it so much, we gave up our money. And so now I'm thinking, well, I loved it 5 years ago. I really had to have it 10 years ago, but it's been in this drawer for quite a while and I haven't used it. So what I'm finding is that when I bring the box in, I then will fill the box up and take it out. Now I do have a couple of different boxes. One is a box of things that I know I'm going to donate. They're lovely, they're fine, but they're not things that really are collectibles, let's say. Now I have another box of things that are fairly collectible, and well, at least I think they are. Now, we'll see what happens when I list them. But I belong to a couple of websites that have mid-century modern, and one has sort of tiki Polynesian retro, a little bit mid-century, but a little more on the tropical flair. So between those two sites, I have some items that I'm going to post and see if anybody else wants these treasures. And what I am really struggling with is the pricing, because what I think is a fair price is maybe not what someone wants to pay for it, which brings me to my third way, because you can donate or you can list on Marketplace, Craigslist. I've done a few things on Craigslist, OfferUp, those type things. Or the third way is actually taking them to the home consignment. And I will list some information about the home consignment that I use. I just went today with a couple of large items So I brought a couple of things in, and I was a little shocked that I wasn't going to get more than what I thought. And they then went through the paperwork with me. So just so you know, you have to read the fine print. The first thing you need to know is that you're going to split. There, in some places are 60-40. You are only getting 40%. In some cases, again, they're doing all the work. They've got the showroom, they're driving the customers, all of that. And I had already put this up on Marketplace, and it just didn't. The size of it alone is like prohibitive. People are like, "Ooh, that's too big. How am I going to get that in my house?" So I thought, let's take it someplace where there's already big furniture. Take a place, right? So the second thing you need to know is that when they have your item, if it does not sell in about 30 days, because real estate is, they got to have it there. They got all these big chunky items they've got to bring in, bring out. So if it doesn't sell in 30 days, they will mark it down. You got to know that. So they may mark it down 20%, maybe 25%. So you have to know that, because when you get your check and you realize it's not even 50% of what they told you, you're going to wonder why. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and this was a little that they threw in at the end. Well, there's two things. So really there's three things that you have to understand, is that they may mark it down. The second thing is that when they send you a check from their corporate office, they charge you $2 to cut that check. And I asked about that. I said, what if I just come in and pick up the check? Well, no, we don't do it that way. We have a corporate office that manages all of our different consignment stores, and they'll realize that your item sold, and they will send you the check. So, $2. Someone buys your item and they pay with a credit card, we charge you 1%. So at the end of the day, if it sells, okay, I'm getting something for it. But really, you're not getting a lot. Which brings me to my big point of the day. Well, my big point of the day was look for these great boxes. But my really serious point of the day is think twice. Think 3 times before you bring something into your home. When you are thinking about moving, thinking about getting older, and someone else having to unload your treasures, that's all it's going to be to them, is unloading. And I say that from personal experience after having, and I hate to use that term, but that's kind of what it is. I unloaded my parents' home after they had lived in it over 20 years. And it was quite the task, let me tell you. Quite the task. So someone else coming in is not going to love these items as much as you do. And so that brings me back to what I originally started to talk about. When you bring the box in, it forces you to look at, what have I been using? What do I enjoy having around me? What do I keep reaching for? What's made its way to the back of the closet? And maybe someone else would really enjoy it, especially if it makes its way to a high-end thrift store. It makes its way to one of these home consignment centers. So when you are filling your box, what you're clearing out right now, initially, as we begin this progression into reimagining what it's going to be like in another 10 to 20 years, how do I want to live my life? How am I planning right now for the future I want? So what you're doing is you're looking at the items that, yes, you love them. Yes, they were great. Yes, they brought you joy and a smile to your face, but they're not doing it anymore. And I know there's several different methods. Does this bring you joy when you hold it? Well, you know what? When I do that, everything I pick up brings me joy. I love it all. That's why I've got so much. But now I've got to say, it's not the thing I go to. It's my go-to item. Then I go to it, and there it is in the front of the cabinet or in the front of the shelf or the hangers. We'll get to the closets later. But right now I'm dealing with kitchen and entertaining and dining room, where I have serving sets and pieces of fabulous servingware that, they made a splash, but they've been in the cabinet for a while. They've down on the bottom. under a couple other things. So those are the kind of things that I'm taking out first. Now, if there's anything of sentimental value that was my mother's or my grandmother's, then I am keeping that. Because right now, we're just going through my accumulations, the things that I have accumulated over the last 20, 25 years and felt like I could because I had the space. But now my space is full, so it's time to clean out. Okay, so I was just thinking maybe I would read to you what it says here. Well, I would like to read to you, but now I can read to you. Checks for sold items will be processed within 30 days of the sale, so don't expect a lot of money to come flying in the door right away. Save your copy of the contract, and they will be mailed noting which items were sold, referencing the contract number, and the processing fee, which we spoke about earlier, will be deducted from each check. And they will determine after 45 days that an item is not likely to sell. So if that's the case, then you are agreeing to then reduce the price, donate the item, or pick it up. And if you do not come and pick it up, they recommend after 45 days. But if you do not come and pick it up, then after let me just make sure. Then after, they give you a lot of time. You might be out of town or something. If after 6 months you have not picked up your item, it becomes theirs. I think that's sort of like the dry cleaners. If you just never come back for your clothes, I think they own them, right? So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And now there is also another option. And that is something that we can think about in terms of the donation. And I learned about this from someone that I follow on YouTube, the Clutter Fairy, called the Clutter Fairy. Norrine posted this information, and I am going to ask her if it's okay for me to post it for you too. It has to do with the boxes and the way Amazon is starting to utilize all of the boxes. They're having you pack up your items and then print out the shipping label, and then you donate it that way. So I'm going to fill in the missing pieces of that. I just wanted to mention it. And so I'll put the information down below so that if you decide that's the route you want to go, if maybe you don't have a great donation center near you and you would still like to donate some of these items, and I'm sure that they have a whole webpage full of suggestions on what they're looking for and how to go about donating. So it doesn't have to be an Amazon box, but they are one of the ones that have started this whole program of giving back and using all of the boxes. So if you're not like me and on the lookout for boxes when you're driving around. Now, I don't want you to think every time I get in my car, I'm looking for boxes, because I'm not. The idea is I bring 2 boxes in and fill them up, and then they go out. So at this point, these 2 boxes will get filled, and then they will go out, and I will need to replace the 2 boxes. And sometimes I'll have maybe 3 boxes because there might be a box outside that I'm working on too. But right now, because I've been focusing on kitchen and entertaining and dining area, that's why they've just been, in my kitchen area. But you can only walk around these boxes for so long, and then they scream at you, fill me up, get rid of me. So that's the plan anyway, right? So I will list everything below, and you can get on getting those boxes, because just like when we were 8 or 9 years old and we had a new box, that was thrilling. We felt like king of the world, right? And I think you can kind of get that feeling now as you begin to clear out with the help of a box. Okay, see you soon.